Hey there, entrepreneur family. Sorry that we are a moment or two late. Sometimes Zoom loves to just connect to the group quickly, and sometimes Zoom's like, I'm not going to do it. So we're here at StreamYard. We've got a good backup over here on StreamYard. And before we really get into the meat and potatoes and have Brendan kind of take us through a journey, let me tell you that I had run a couple of challenges in the past. And none of them were successful. And what do I mean by that? I just didn't feel like I was able to help enough people. I'm like, I really want to help people, and not enough people were there. And so I wasn't sure. Do you just give up on challenges? Do you walk away? I just felt compelled, like, no, I want to teach this stuff. It's so important. And then, as the universe is so marvelously bringing the right people into your world, Brendan showed up in my world, and he has this thing called Challenge Launchpad. And I'm like, what? So we're now on the third challenge that we're doing together, and I intend to do more. He is the master of this. I told my client family members last Monday and the Monday before we met, don't do this alone. You want to do it right. You want to do it well. And so I asked Brendan if he would come into the group, spend a little bit of time today, and I'm going to mostly feature him and let him teach you, train you, explain why challenges, kind of what he's got going on with challenges, and even what's coming in challenges. Does that sound cool, Brendan?
That sounds like a lot of fun.
All right, I'm literally going to turn it over to you for a while. So there you go.
Awesome. So I think maybe I'll just kind of set some of the background how I got into challenges first, if that works.
100%. Whoops.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, you disappeared and you came back. So there you go.
It's a magic trick. There we go. Perfect. So just to kind of backtrack on what got us into challenges here in the first place. And then I'm really excited to share like what we've got coming up. And just Terry, just first and foremost, huge congratulations to what you've done in your challenges. At the end of the day, I love watching when you bring your passion and energy to the table, watching everyone's face. Like they just think there's some presenters like, they're okay, something like have good material. Like not only is your material phenomenal, and you've had 6,000 plus, if not even more people that have gone through your content, they know what you're about. But when you share that, especially because it's all from the heart, to watch the transformation that people get over a very short period of time is remarkable, for lack of better words. So like that's, it's like, wow, like this is really cool. And I sit on these, like this is the third time going through it with you. And every time I watch it, it's always good just, to keep hitting the foundational stuff and the stuff that, even if I'm hearing this now for only the third time, being able to start implementing these in my business, like you give so much value, which is why I love the challenge model just in general. And I think it's tremendously powerful. So huge kudos to you. If you're listening to this and you've not been on Terry's challenge, I'm going to kindly ask that you drop what you're doing, register at least for the next one, and get on this, because Terry just drops a massive amount of value. And by the way, your time's not cheap. And the fact that you give that away 4 or 5 hours plus just the VIP, which is a nominal investment for them to come and sit with you, is really, really cool. So you're a rock star, and I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, my friend. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we'll kind of backtrack for 2 seconds and show how we got into challenges. And then I really want to dive into this, because here's what I can share, guys. If you're not leveraging challenges, and Terry, we were just talking about this before we hopped on here. So you were just talking to somebody that said, well, everyone's doing challenges, so I'm not going to do them because I don't want to get lost in the shuffle. But if the truth is that everyone's doing a certain method, then chances are it's working, and it's probably a good model for you to leverage as well. Right. So that being said, long story short, my parents had got divorced when I was a kid. So I turned to binge eating, and I struggled with weight pretty much all the way up through high school. And as I went through that journey, I ended up getting into Weight Watchers. You're familiar with Weight Watchers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my mom, she struggled with weight. So anyway, so we did this together. And what I learned very quickly as I began to transform myself physically, I really began to master myself mentally. And as you're working with a group towards some very specific goal, whether it be health, wealth, relationships, if there's something you're looking to attain, there's a couple things that I learned very quickly by being in that environment. When you have a lot of people focused on one very specific goal, they're held accountable, and there's a time frame on which you need to hit a certain objective. It is amazing. And they have stats to prove this, just by saying, okay, by this certain date with these people that I'm accountable to, your level of success grows tremendously, and it skyrockets. So from that concept, then I ended up going into, I'm sure you've seen P90X, the at-home workout stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I got super into that. And what was really cool is they actually had a network marketing portion to that. So I was like, all right, well, I want to take this health and fitness thing, all the way. I'm really developing myself as a person. And then I got a chance that was my first taste of entrepreneurship, where I could really start to build a business and help transform other people's lives at the same time. So as I started going through there, I was like, all right, well, what are we doing that works? So we started leveraging challenges, from like a health and fitness perspective. I was like, all right, this is something really cool. And I did that for a number of years. Fast forward, I got my undergrad, took a few years off, went back, got my master's. And then at that time period, so I tried all these different certifications, like a lot of coaches and speakers here, right? You got, you're certified in this, and I got this, and you have like 19 initials after your name.
Yes.
and you got your certifications, you've done your ICF and everything else. And it was funny. So I'd started all these different things, and I kid you not, Terry, within like a 2-week time period, I had all these boxes, all these certs that arrived, and I put them on my bed. And I'm looking at them like, this is so cool. I have no idea what to do with all this.
I can relate to this.
So it's like, okay, awesome. So I have this credential, I have this credential. I'm like, but how does that translate into clients? How does that translate into me giving massive value to an audience? How does that translate into money? That's why we get into this business stuff, because you want to be able to break through that glass ceiling. You want to be able to create more impact, influence, and income. So I learned very quickly that certifications after your name don't always mean a heck of a lot. And the second thing I learned is that if you don't know how to market what you can do, and you don't know how to provide that value to your audience, then you're not doing much. And I want to say, I think it was Jack Canfield I was listening to, or no, who's Tony Robbins' mentor? I was just talking about it yesterday. Older guy, white hair. Anyway, so it'll come back.
Somebody, if you know it, stick it in the chat.
I'm sure somebody knows it. Anyway, so I was listening to him, and one of the biggest takeaways I got, he said, you don't get paid on the hour. You get paid for the value that you bring to the hour. Right. So, and so I started to learn very quickly, like, what is the difference between the person that gets paid $10 an hour, $10,000 an hour, or $100,000 an hour? And at the end of the day, it winds up being, well, what is that value then? How can you change somebody's life? And the truth is, people don't want to necessarily do something over the course of 6 months, a year, 2 years. I realize, like, okay, if I can get somebody some type of results in the same time period or even shorter, maybe my competition, all of a sudden that sets me apart from somebody else. Okay, I see Regina throwing a couple things in there.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it my own way. Yeah, for sure. Oh, cool. We got Velma in there. Awesome. Groupthink creates group success. I love it.
I'm not sure who this one is, but they're raving about you, as everyone.
Oh, I love them too. So anyhow, fast forward. So I have all these certifications. And about 6 years ago, I wound up cashing in the 401k. I said, guys, thank you so much, but I'm going to go do my own thing. So for the past 6 years, I had a lot of really cool opportunities, almost took a company public. And so there were a couple highs, and then some of the lows were really fun when you turn around and they say, by the way, I know we owe you 2 weeks worth of pay. We have no cash flow. Apologize, but good luck.
Oh my goodness.
So I will say, after you go through a few of those, I made a decision about 2 years ago very quickly. I'm tired of leaving my paycheck in somebody else's hands.
Yes.
And if I keep doing that, I don't remember exactly who said it, but they said, if you don't have your own goals and dreams, eventually you will work for somebody else that does.
Yes.
Jim Rohn. There you go.
Ken, thank you.
Ken, you're a rock star. Thank you for that.
It was.
So I was listening to Jim Rohn. And so I decided very quickly, I was like, all right. And I love, and because Terry, you talk about this on your challenges left to right, and you preach this. You need to know exactly what is that one result you're bringing to the table. How are you going to help them? Why should they pick you? And then how do you separate yourself from that audience? And, I think, even working with you, you've really helped me to define that as we keep going on and going through these challenges. And I said, all right, well, what am I really good at? And that was the first thing I had to figure out. Like, what can I be the best at? What do I love? Like, what's going to make me want to get up on the days I don't want to get up and actually sit there and focus on it? And when I see you and your challenges, even when you were feeling like hell, you were super sick, you got up and you just totally plowed through it, because that's your personality, but it's also because you love what you do.
Yes.
So for mine, I had to figure out, okay, well, I have a touch of OCD. I've got a little bit of an operations background. I love tech and I love coaching. How do I take all these miscellaneous bubbles and combine that into something that's going to be like a turnkey solution that I'm going to have a lot of fun doing,
Yeah.
and B, how do you make it scalable, right? So you always wanted to have some scalable service. And I think the coolest thing that I've seen on yours is like, I watch these sales come in because of the value that you have, but also how hands off it is. And at the same time, how hands on it is when they get in there. And the fact that you can produce results over and over and over and over, and yours is 6 figures in 6 months guaranteed. So I'm thinking for myself, what can I do that's guaranteed that will have that same kind of, impact in somebody's life? So because I usually work with coaches and speakers, because that's my background, that's my passion, I said, well, all right, what can I bring to the table that a lot of them struggle with? And where I've seen it time and again, and I know we've even talked about this before, when it comes to the technology piece, coaches are great at what they do. If it's the health, the wealth, the relationships, like they're great at transformation. And most of them say, hey, I just want to show up. I just want to coach, period, end of story. And I want to change and transform lives. And that's great. But there's sort of that gap that sits in the middle between the certification they received and the actual end customer. You still have to have that bridge of that gap, right? And if you don't have that, or you struggle with that, or you don't really know who you should be able to leverage or turn to, then that one time, that little surmountable thing, or sometimes in some cases a big surmountable thing, makes it very challenging to get your message to the world. And that's why, what'd you tell me? The average coach salary is like $38,000?
That's a full-time coach working 40 hours a week, gang, in 2022.
And that's scary.
I agree.
That's scary. Like, if you want to do this full time, there's no way that you could possibly make a full living off of that. I mean, look at gas. Like, even just like gas by itself, like I had a tank that full for $30. Now it's almost to like 70.
Yeah.
So, and there's going to be factors that are out of our control. So if we can't control our own environment, if we can't control how we show up, if we can't set the right prices or be able to get this out to the masses, then great. Most coaches have a fancy hobby and they can't support themselves. And it's really unfortunate. So when I went back, I said, all right, well, what's that system? And when I started looking at a lot of these, bigger guys out there, I'll just throw it like Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, Russell Brunson, all these big guys, they're all doing one thing, which is what we just said before. They're all launching challenges. Yeah. I was like, well, that's really interesting, because when I look back at like my health and fitness background where I first started, we did challenges. And the results that people got, like Terry, it's like your challenges. People were messaging saying, hey, when's the next time you're doing one? This is freaking awesome. I want to be part of this.
Right.
And you get them all the time. And I'm watching your messages on the back end. Hey, when's the next challenge? When can I get in? I want to do this. Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, what if we had like a turnkey challenge system? And I was like, all right, cool. That could work really well because people, want to do them. All right, how do we speed this up and get you to market as fast as possible? Because speed to the lead can be everything. Well, is it possible, instead of it being like, your typical 90-day program or 60-day, can we do it in 30 days? I was like, all right, so let's brainstorm this for a second. What would you possibly need to make this happen? Can I go through that process real quick?
That would be awesome. Yeah,
cool?
Really awesome. Thank you.
All right, so whenever we launch a challenge, I break it into 4 weeks. All right, and this is how I always do it with everybody regardless. And by the way, what I'm going to share with you right now, the way I do this, is how I'd recommend, if you're putting your programs together, have a repeatable process that regardless of who comes in, they will always get the same result over and over and over and over, because you have your recipe to success, your program, your system, your tool, whatever that is. Put somebody through something that all they can do is rinse and repeat, and now you have a program that is scalable. And Terry, I love yours. Yours is 9 weeks of just action-packed, get in here, kick ass, get your message to the world, and go make millions.
Exactly.
Oh, Regina, you're super sweet. Thank you very much. Regina. So here's how, if you're going to launch your challenge, this is what I recommend. First and foremost, start with your offer. Now, if you do not have your offer, if you're unclear what that looks like, get in Terry's challenge, please, because she will help you to craft this and she will show you how to do it. All right. First and foremost, who are you speaking to? What does that look like? Can they actually pay for your services? So if you're the best 503C, C, or like you're just doing some type of like volunteer work and you're trying to make thousands, if not hundreds of thousands a month, or whatever that's going to look like, you may have to choose a different avatar. Okay. Yeah. So choose the right avatar that's going to be a good fit, and then know exactly what you want to offer. I help XYZ person accomplish XYZ or overcome certain challenge in ABC time. Once you get really clear on that, and it's not hard to do, and I'm happy to, Terry, I have a couple resources and I'm more than happy to share those.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So go through, identify what that is. Now that you have that, for the second week, plan out each one of the 5 days. And the goal is that, okay, like whatever your offer is, take that offer and say, okay, if I were going to take this offer and I was going to split it into like just 5 chunks, 5 pillars, what are the pieces I would want to talk about? And say, okay, day one, and a lot of times I love to start with mindset, because if you don't have that right mindset piece to it, even if you have all the rest of the pieces, and Terry, you know this from 40 plus years of coaching,
Yes.
everything else can fall by the wayside and it becomes very challenging to see it all the way through.
Yep, 100%.
All right. So let's just say, how to properly walk your dog. Maybe you have like a full like dog walking program. We'll just throw that out as your offer. So maybe day one, understanding the mindset of your puppy. Day two, what are the tools that you actually need to be able to walk a dog effectively? Day three, what kind of dog do you want to walk? So on and so forth. And the idea is that a lot of this is really based around shifting the mindset of your client. So that way they're open and they see what the possibilities are and the direction that they really should be heading to get those ideal results that they're looking for. And what this does is, by you putting this out there, you're only sharing maybe like the tip of the iceberg. We're talking like 30% of the entire piece. And then by the time they get to day 4, like Terry, like you always say, you're just going to extend your hand and say, by the way, I know you guys have learned a whole bunch of stuff. But if you're ready to take it to that next level, then this is what it looks like to continue moving forward with me. Now, over the course of those 5 days, you're going to give a ton of value. And I know a lot of people will say, well, if I give so much during these 5 days, like, they're not even going to want my product. And like, how's it going to work? There is no way that over the course of 5 days, because an hour goes by very, very quick, that you can possibly share your entire life story and everything that needs to go into your program for them to receive the optimal results. So if that is a fear in your head, please just put that aside now and just know that you can totally do this. And by the time you get all the way to day 5, a couple things have happened. But first and foremost, that know, like, and trust factor goes through the roof, and it positions you as the expert. So, Terry, I think people that have never even met you before, by the time day 5 they were done, they're like, oh my God, like this is phenomenal. How do I work with you? And your sales are just a result of that. That's total proof, which is beautiful. And is that the main driver at the end of the day? No, because you want to change lives. But it's really cool to sit back and see 5 figures in your bank account after you've really brought somebody through this, and they're happy to pay you. They're happy to do so because, all right, why would they not want to? And this is also about understanding what's the value you bring and then how do you position yourself properly. But people literally will say, hey, here's my card, take my money because I want what you have, because it's going to make my life better. And that's so important. And I think the coolest part that I love about this, Terry, and this is why I'm not a fan of LinkedIn, because every time I go on there, it's every spam message, everything you could possibly imagine. And like you always say, people just reach out to you for the most random stuff. They haven't checked your profile. They want you to buy their newest gadget. And it's like this vomit fest of, hey, just come buy my crap.
Sure.
And I just want a customer. And there's no heart to it, right? It's just now they're just spamming stuff out. So then the question becomes, great, well, I've got all these certifications. How do I connect with these people? Like, what does lead gen always look like? Here's the one thing I learned out of all things that I got out of my master's program. My finance teacher said there's 2 words: cash and flow.
I love this.
He's like, if that's the only thing, if you do not remember anything, funny man, it was 3 rough ass finance classes. But if you don't remember anything, remember those 2 words, because those are the 2 things that take out 95% of businesses. And if you don't have the cash and you don't have the flow, well, you don't have much of a business. You're back to a fancy hobby. So then that becomes the question of, okay, great. Well, I've got the credentials. I've got my offer. I know who I want to go after. Now, how do I get myself out there?
Exactly.
And what's really funny too. So like, you just start to like watch people that are doing like really cool. And what I've noticed is the people that focus on lead generation are typically the ones that usually wind up attracting the most people, because everybody wants to know, how do you get leads? So you watch this kind of cat and mouse game for like long enough. Okay, who are the guys that are crushing it? Who are the ones that are like, kind of like whatever? And what I came down to is I said, okay, a challenge is hands down, in my opinion, one of the most effective ways that not only can you provide massive, massive, massive amounts of value to your audience in a very short period of time, but you also get them phenomenal results over the course of just 5 days, most of them or a lot of them will probably want to work with you in some type of larger capacity. I love her. And then, more importantly, now, and this is one of my most favorite things, it's always that question of how do you build that list that you now own? So as opposed to just, hey, go land on my free lead magnet and hopefully you get an email address. Well, when we run these challenges, not only do you get their email and their full name, you also get their phone number.
Yep.
So now that they know who you are, they're getting and ideally, as long as you have a system set up, they're hearing all these things that are going on. They get a chance to see all this value because they can watch the replays. You have the opportunity to go ahead and share your offer with them. So now you're doing the one-to-many versus the one-to-one. So you're able to grow and, expand your time exponentially. So that is tremendously powerful by itself. But think about this. Your list that you can now talk to for anything you do moving forward grows and it grows and it grows. And not only, and the funny part is a lot of times, and Terry, we've seen this on your challenge, even if people don't buy the first time, so many people wind up coming into your challenge the following month and the next month and the next month because they gravitated towards you in the first place.
That's right.
And they want to keep hearing your message over and over because every single time that somebody hops into this new event that you're going to throw, they're always going to gain something new, something tremendously valuable. I still pick up on things, and I'm practically out. I walked through the entire process with you when we set this up.
Yes, 100% you did.
So, and it was really cool to see. So, and what's interesting is by the time, and it's usually not on the first time, it's typically the second or third challenge that somebody winds up joining in, that they actually go in and they take action.
Yeah.
So, and then as you're putting on more events, as you start getting on more podcasts, as you start reaching out and doing all these other things, well, now you actually have an audience that's interested in what you do. And, now they're saying, okay, wow, I wonder what this person's up to, or what does this look like? So there's so many moving factors that's tremendously beneficial and helpful. And the cool part is outside of the initial investment of time, effort, and energy that it takes just to build this in the first place, once you have it done, you literally have this digital asset that will work for you time and time and time again. And then it's just, okay, let's just change a couple dates. Let's just reset a couple posts. And now it's brand new challenge. And you literally can launch this every single month. So you always have something of high value to offer to a new potential client, or you call them client family members.
Client family members. Yeah, exactly.
So to your new potential client family members, and people love it. They absolutely love it. So that's just kind of how we got to this point. Do we want to touch base on anything in particular?
Yeah, let me make a few comments.
Sure.
I'm finding this so interesting. I've had many people, this is my third challenge that I'm doing with Brendan. I've had so many people on this third challenge that were on my first challenge and my second challenge. Regina, I think you've been on all three. And I'm getting messages as we're into day 2 of this challenge already. And in the Facebook group we have for the challenge of, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm back on the challenge because I kind of missed this point last time. Or, oh, that little nuance that you did today in the VIP coaching, that changed everything. So the content that I'm using is the same. It's my content that I feel is really nailed and what people need, what I want to give to transform their businesses. And every single time as they hear it more and more, and as you said, sometimes it takes a little bit to implement. It just really, for me, it makes me feel like I'm doing the right thing. People are getting it and they're transforming. And at the same time, I want to be able to deliver free content to the masses, not one-to-one, one-to-many, because everything I teach is about optimizing and leveraging your time. So you have time freedom as well as income. So the challenge for me is transforming lives. And at the same time, it's freeing up my time. And yes, you mentioned this and I'll mention it. So on the back end, people, when I extend my hand, people will say yes, right? And they'll purchase. What's been really interesting, and I'm going to burn the curtain and tell people, is we've seen people purchase in between the challenges, like a lot of people, and we've seen people upgrade, like when I'm doing the challenge, I'm like, how are they even upgraded? So what happens is the challenge still stays in the front of their minds. Yeah. So here's Anne, and she's like, oh, in the UK, I couldn't come live last time. So that is one thing that we've actually learned is do it at different times. Velma, thank you. You kind of said that again,
Mhm.
because then you can reach more people, and that's the goal. Heather, yes, go do the challenge again. Go sign up, and you can go into the challenge Facebook group, Heather, and you can see Monday and Tuesday's replay, and then join us live tomorrow. All right, Brendan. Sorry to interrupt. Keep going.
No, I think that's awesome. You know, it's funny too because we were talking about it right before we hopped on. Um, if anyone's feeling like, hey, maybe I don't want to necessarily do like a challenge per se,
Oh yeah.
and because I got that from a few folks that, hey, maybe like I've got a really close friend, she likes doing retreats. Now that matches her brand, her styling.
Sure.
So I looked at the back and, so a lot of the stuff that goes into it. And, if I can, I would love to even screen share just so people understand like how in depth some of this really can go. But there's a lot of moving pieces that go with it. So the part I was really excited about, so we had a challenge Launchpad, which is like a version 1.0. And I'm basically finishing a version 2.0, which just takes all these pieces that I've learned and feedback to make this like even bigger and badder, which Terry, I'm beyond excited about.
Now I'm all excited about that. And I'm to that for a moment because I was telling Brendan, some of my client family members that are here a couple of weeks ago were like, oh, orange challenge is like a thing of the past. And I'm like, no, they're very popular. However, just think about it, change it. Workshop, retreat, seminar, boot camp. You could do it so many different ways. And I'm going to also tip my hand a little. This challenge, for those of you who are on it, I'm actually not doing the teaching live every day. I'm there live. I come in live. I make an introduction. I'm in the chat answering questions and helping live the whole time. However, we're allowing the last challenge that I did to serve as the training. So think about this. Now I'm optimizing and leveraging. And what if I went even further and took the entire challenge and automated it? So in Anne's case, where she's like, man, I couldn't join live, or in Stella's case, who isn't here right now, because she's probably sleeping in Singapore, who wants to be on the challenges and the times don't fit, you could do the challenge in your own way, in your own time. So that might be coming soon. Giving people a sneak.
Well, it was really cool. So actually, I got to interview a buddy of mine, and he pretty much did that for his. And I think he said I was cool sharing the numbers, but I think over the past year and a half, he's generated about $500,000 just alone from the challenge that he runs. And so he did it, more of an automated portion, and then people get to learn that, and it naturally ascends them. So just the concept, the model by itself is tremendously powerful. Now, there's always give and takes, right? So being able to actually be there live and answer the questions typically has a higher conversion rate. But at the same time, if you can leverage that, even if the ratio goes down a little bit, I'm watching from southeastern Nigeria. Wow, all over the planet, super cool.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, even if you can leverage that, like I'd rather have something totally running in the background, and then every now and then, if you want to go do something live, knock yourself out.
Absolutely. What I'm thinking, and you and I will talk about it, is to run the challenge so it's automated, so I can match all the different time zones. Because here in the Heartrepreneur group, I was looking the other day, we represent 29 different countries right now. Yeah. So I want to have everyone get this transformation, and that way you can go through the challenge. However, in the closed private Facebook group for the challenge, I'll probably go in and drop some lives like we're doing here, do some training. I might bring some people in, might do some interviews, and I'm in that group. And some of you know this. It's me. I answer your questions. I'm coaching and consulting you for free during the challenge in the group. So that's kind of the blend that I'm playing with. And I wanted to take everybody behind the scenes to show you that you can always expand. You can always expand. There's ways to do this. Yeah, you can go to a live concert. You can stream music. Right. Good point, Velma. So I want you to always be thinking, what's the next version, right? The 2.0 version, the 3.0 version. And that's how you also stay in front of the audience. And at the same time, that's how you're a leader in the marketplace. So for those of you who said, I'm sick of challenges, I'm like, well, number one, I'm not. I participate in tons of them, strength and wellness and nutrition. I love all of that, mindset. I'm in, like, for every challenge that comes across my feed and someone's doing a challenge, I want to be there. And mostly I love doing them and giving them and creating that value. So just remember a couple of points. You can call it whatever you want to call it. You can change it up. and you can make it work so that you also have time freedoms. There's a lot of ways of doing this. Sorry to interrupt.
No. And there's also going to be a few people saying, well, who am I to put one on there? Who am I to put one out? You know, like a little bit of that imposter syndrome. Well, I'm just getting started. I haven't been doing coaching for that long, so on and so forth. Here's the only thing I will say to that. As long as you have an offer that, and Terry, you always say this, you know, especially on your challenges, how about bringing others over from other platforms?
We'll do that in a second.
Okay. So as long as you can guarantee your results, whatever shape, form, or fashion that looks like, and you know for 100% that you can stand back and say, if you buy this from me, I know internally I can sleep well at night because I'm going to change your life in a positive direction. Now, if you don't have that yet, create that first. But once you have that, it doesn't matter, honestly, I think how much experience you have. The whole purpose of the challenge, and what happens is, and here's why I get on people for this, you're getting in your own head and you're worried more about how you're going to come across as opposed to the lives that you're going to touch, transform, and change.
There you go.
And if you're afraid, well, what if they think about this about me? Or what if I can't do this? Or what if I trip and fumble? Terry, how many challenges on all the challenges we've had? There's been some type of tech glitch. There's been something goofy. I don't have internet or Wi-Fi. Look, craziness will happen, and that's totally fine. It happens with live events. This is a live event. That's just how it works.
Right.
Do not let perfection get in the way of you bringing this forward. Somebody needs to hear your message, and I'm gonna call you out. If you're not willing to do it because you're afraid of how you're going to look to the audience, you're being selfish because you're more concerned about how you're going to come across versus the lives that need to hear your message that you can help transform and change today.
I just want to comment on that, and then we'll go over to, I see Robert and Velma and everyone else. The first thing I want to say is Joel Bauer, one of my mentors, he uses this expression, and it's just stayed with me for almost 30 years now. Your ego is not your amigo. So I'm quoting him because I love this. When you're thinking about, well, how do I look, or da da da, or what if, that is all you. And I just show up every day. I don't care what I look like. I have makeup, my hair's not done, whatever. When I was really, really sick, I still showed up and I was on video, you know, although I didn't look great and I didn't even sound great, as we came to realize re-listening to some of my videos. I just wasn't caring about me. I'm like, it's my job to show up every day and transform lives and serve people. So I think that's a key point. Let me show you the other two, and then we'll come back to this man over here. So Velma says, sounds like some of these systems would be valuable to include in group coaching programs. Yeah, 100%. You look marvelous. Robert, that just made me feel great. Oh, we've got good. We want to be inspirational. Okay. And yep, you've heard, right? Your ego is not your amigo. Okay, so Robert asked, how about bringing others over from other platforms? Do you want to address that, Brendan?
Yeah, I'm trying to get some clarity on the question on what he means about that.
Yeah, so Robert, do you mean bringing people into the challenge from other social media platforms, or if you can clarify?
So let's just talk about platforms for 2 seconds, and maybe if I can spill the beans a little bit on some of the things we were talking about, just to throw a little hint out there. So here's what I've learned over the period of time, because I've probably, more than I should have, played around with so many different platforms, right? And there's, you know, everyone promises different things, and there's so many softwares you could run out of breath trying to and there's funnels, there's emails, there's calendars, like you name it. And half the trick, especially when you're trying to figure this out, is I just need to even see what works. Right. Will it work for me? How do I put all this together? There's a lot of hows. I think one of the things that's really gonna, you know, if you're stuck in this, because I was stuck in this for a while, the most important question is who, not how. Who can you help to provide and bring what you need to across the finish line? Terry, first time I met you, how many times did I ask you for like passwords and stuff? You're like, I don't know. Talk to James.
I don't know any of the passwords.
and that's fine. That's totally. And look, if you're listening to this right now, and you know you're trying to do all these things yourself, you're trying to build all this yourself, you're trying to learn backends and systems and tools. If it is not your specialty, if it's not what you're getting paid for, stop. Please stop doing it. And Terry, like, I've gone through your program. That is one of the things you talk about. Outsource, go to Fiverr, go somewhere. There's people that are chomping at the bit to do the annoying crap that you have no desire to do yourself, and honestly should not be wasting your time on.
True.
So I say all that to say, when you have a challenge, there's typically a lot of moving pieces, right? So you've got the funnel first and foremost. You have to send somebody somewhere.
Right.
You have the email campaigns. You have the text messages. You have all the reminders. You have the notifications. You have the database. You have the follow-up. You have the pipelines to know where somebody stands in this process. So to take the time and trying to figure all that out, I've totally dedicated my entire career to do this. So if you're trying to do this effectively, here's just the one thing I will promise you. And look, even if it's not me, and Velma just said it, stop hanging out in somebody else's zone of genius.
Well said, Velma. Yeah.
Very, very well said. So in terms of, bringing this to the market, you have one of two ways. Now, it doesn't have to be this whole crazy convoluted process, but, I'm sure you've gone to events and some are phenomenal. And there's lights and there's stage and there's fire and everything's like really cool. And it totally sets the atmosphere and it puts you at a different level versus other events where you're lucky if they have like a stage or a backsplash and the guy's probably screaming from the front of the room. The message is still good, but think about all this stuff that you miss out on if you don't invest into, like the proper way to do so. Now, imperfect action is better than no action. I will fully agree. Get out there if you're literally just trying to do this for the first time. However, if you can leverage somebody that has the knowledge, the existence, and understands the right way to do this, then I would just highly recommend work with somebody at least that can help you bring your event to the table and look professional doing this with the guidance, because the amount of time you can cut off by working with the right kind of person is exponential. And the fact that you can change more lives faster if all I have to do is this, then this, then this, then this. I bring my message, I transform lives, period, end of story.
Okay, so a couple quick things on there. It's not a paid endorsement or paid sponsorship. I had to share Brendan because I love working with him. I could not be doing these challenges on my own. I could not. There are so many moving behind the scenes parts that you all on the challenges, you have no idea what is going on in the background. And you know what? I don't either. Let me say that again. I really don't either. Brendan, blah. He's like, yep, I got that taken care of. Because I want to focus on my zone of genius. Thank you, Velma. My zone of genius is I know this content. I know how valuable it is. I want to show up and teach it, transform lives. I want to do the coaching and consulting for the VIPs, and I want to help as many people as possible. I don't want to know passwords. I don't want to log into backends. I don't want to do any of the tech. Today, we're a few minutes late because Zoom all of a sudden wouldn't let me connect to the Heartrepreneur Facebook group, which occasionally Zoom won't do. And Velma, you know that too. We don't know why. So, okay, boom, we come over to StreamYard and here we go. I don't want to manage all of these things. I want to stay in my zone of genius. So number one, that's really important. The other thing that I want to say is it is really about focusing on just creating value. And I'm going to say to you, don't do this on your own because I did it. I did it on my own. I did it. Some of you may remember, I did a couple challenges with Barbara Portzline, and just being transparent, we did them poorly because we didn't know what we didn't know. And it was not our zone of genius. So stay in your zone of genius. Robert, I'm going to actually speak to this. I am on one platform, so I'm very transparent about this. I am not on LinkedIn. Yes, I have a profile and I have all these connections. I don't look at LinkedIn. I could care less about LinkedIn. It is so much spam. I want nothing to do with LinkedIn. I'm not looking for a job and I'm not interested. Twitter, don't follow me on Twitter. Twitter I use as an activist for personal things I believe in. That is not a business platform for me. My Instagram is simply connected to my Facebook account. I'm not looking at it. I'm just being very, very transparent here. I'm not into TikTok. I know many of you are. I'm not interested in quick videos or silly, but it's just not my thing. And my target audience, because I've surveyed them, they don't hang out on TikTok. Most of them don't even have accounts there. So I don't need to go over there. The other thing, and you could be in Clubhouse. I mean, we could just go on and on because every day is a new social media network. Stay in your zone. So Robert, no, I don't try and bring people over from other platforms. It's much easier if these people are already on one platform, use the platform that they're on. And some of you have heard me teach this before. Facebook is my platform of choice for two reasons. One, three really. My audience is on Facebook and so is all of yours. Number two, the average Facebook user spends 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week on Facebook. If you combine all the other social media platforms It doesn't come close to that. In fact, Twitter's less than 3 minutes. So I use the platform where I get eyeballs. And then the next reason is because there's more engagement on Facebook than other platforms. So I just wanted to make a couple of points. Velma said, start now. Yeah, it's the whole thing of perfection is what holds people back. When I look at procrastination, or kind of living in that nation of in my experience, it's because people want everything perfect. And there's no such thing as perfect, right? Ken, giving attendees an experience. Velma, I love simple solutions. Right, I love that. You are the simple solution to challenges. I love the way that you stated that. That's really, really true. And Robert says, makes sense. And I'm curious, I was going crazy trying to do 4 platforms. Awesome. I crush it. You just stick with one. So the last thing I just want to say, because people ask me this all the time, they say, oh my gosh, you must spend so much time on Facebook. Other than the week of the challenge, when I'm in the challenge group, coaching and consulting and helping everyone, which is a lot more of my time, I actually use a timer, and I spend about 20 minutes a day on Facebook. I post in my own group, and I create value and answer comments in Entrepreneurs. In my 6-figure accelerator, you get me coaching and consulting in the Modern Coaching Method Facebook group. And then I belong to 2 other groups that I just look at and ask very quickly, is there any comment that I can help someone create value? I'm out. I use Newsfeed Killer. So I don't need to see my cat died, pray for my cousin's sister's mother-in-law, whatever. I just don't do it. There is no newsfeed for me. So I'm making a few additional suggestions. One thing I wanted to make sure we cover: how do people get in touch with you? How do they find out more? And gang, we can't answer comments in StreamYard. Facebook doesn't let us do that. It just shuts that off in StreamYard. So put all your questions and comments here. Brenda and I will go to the group. This will be pinned, or Velma, if you're there, if you don't mind pinning it, we will answer and respond to everything. Okay, sorry, Brendan. Let people know how to connect with you.
Sure. So Facebook is always a great way to do it. If they're friends with you and we're friends, they can easily find me. Easiest way is challengelaunchpad.com. So I'm more than happy to hop on like a challenge strategy session. And if you're curious to see, okay, could I even contemplate doing a challenge? And by the way, we've done them literally across all verticals, anywhere from health, wellness, mindset. We've done divorce coaching. So like it literally can expand. It really doesn't matter what you do. I think it's just more getting a little bit of clarity as far as what that looks like. So, I'm more than happy to sit there 15, 20 minutes. We can knock this out. And I promise you, when you realize how you can easily bring this to the market, it is way easier than I think people tend to think. It doesn't have to be challenging, and it can be a lot of fun. It can really be a lot of fun.
It is fun. And one of the things that was so cool for me is because you have this systematized, and you have this like software in the back end. I answered a bunch of questions, and it's like, boom, I've got a workbook. I'm like, how did that happen? So there's so much that you have figured out and you've automated. So putting on the very first challenge, initially I thought, oh, it's going to take so much time. We're going to think all this through. And boom, like the thing happens so quick, which is the reason that I always tell people don't go it alone. Because if you're going to do it with help. Make sure that you understand the moving pieces. Even if on the Zoom, I get knocked out or something happens, Brendan's there. He's a co-host. He's got my back. Now, you don't necessarily need him. You might use an assistant or somebody else on your team. It could be anyone. I just want you to really understand the moving pieces in the background and to make it simple and easy. And I think what Velma said about you being the challenge, simple solution, couldn't have been said better. I think that's totally in agreement. We've got about 2 minutes. Anything else that you want to say? Anything else you want to share with folks?
Yeah. So here's something that I got really excited about. It. We did a mastermind about 2 months ago in Miami, and there was a guy on there, Jared Yellen, phenomenal dude, really brilliant. And he said, okay, what's your moonshot? Like, you need to basically call it, like Babe Ruth, when he sits there and points to the outfield, says, okay, like, what are you aiming towards? And initially I threw out a number. He's like, no, dude, you need to add some zeros to that. So when I stood up and I said it again, I was like, holy crap, like this, it scares me, but it excites me.
Good.
And I think if we don't have that, it's very challenging to press when times get hard, right? So my moonshot became, I want to help 50,000 speakers and coaches launch a 5-day challenge by 2025. And that became our sole mission. And that's what we really, really want to get this out here. So when we hop on these calls, it's It's not to, ram a product down your throat. I'm doing this because I really want to see each and every one of you leverage this and watch what happens. And here's what I'll end at. The first challenge I had ever thrown, leveraging this system I put together, I was like, all right, just out of pure curiosity. It was on a Tuesday. I threw out a little Facebook post. I said, hey guys, I'm going to do this random automation challenge. I think it'll be really cool. Let's have some fun. So we go in, I get about 3 or 4 people on there that actually stay through the entire challenge. And my buddy's like, what are you going to offer? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just kind of doing it to do it. He's like, no, put an offer out there, see what happens. I throw the offer out there, Terry. And on Thursday, when I provide that, about 45 minutes after we hop off the call, I see $6,000 in my bank account.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I don't share that to impress you, but to more to impress upon you that do not think that you can't do this. All right. The first time you go through it, it might be a little nerve-wracking, and that's fine, but you will change lives. People need what you have. So don't hesitate to put yourself out there.
I second that. And for all of you that are here, it doesn't matter what stage you're at in your business. It doesn't matter what your niche is, what your industry is. And I will tell you, because I've had some client family members hop on a call with Brendan, every one of them has come back to me and said, I'm so glad I got on call. It's been really valuable. Some of them are ready to do a challenge now. I know Lisa J, she ran her challenge with you. Mm-hmm. And some of them are, John Sadeh came to me and said, I'm not quite ready yet. I'm going to launch it soon. So go ahead and do it. It really, really makes sense. And, two concepts here. I totally agree. People need what you have. One of the things that we said earlier, I'll reiterate, stop focusing on you, start focusing on transforming lives. The challenge is one to many, helping a lot of people at once, making a difference in the world. So let me just put this up. And Velma, thank you. Velma is always so amazing. She comes, she helps, she provides so much value. Love, love, love you.
I love Velma.
Robert says, what if you have no list yet? So it'll be our last one for today. I have an interview to hop over to. So let's answer one for Robert.
Robert, 100%, man. Look, that's no problem at all. And actually, I think what you'll find out is sometimes those are the best challenges to run, because what you wind up doing is you create this really personal, deep connection with those that do and are interested in what you have. So even if you're doing this for the first time, leverage relationships that you have. Get on some sort of platform. The fact that I'm talking to Terry here came from, me being able to give value, and then she's more than happy to turn around because she was able to see what I did. You do the same thing for yours. Figure out what your offer is, provide value, be able to leverage other people's stages and audiences, get that out there. Look, even Robert, if you have 2 or 3 people, that's fine. Your first one is literally to get it underneath your belt. Yep. Understand the process, and then you just grow from there, get it bigger and badder, and 2 names becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, and then it will grow exponentially.
I couldn't agree more. I want to say huge thank you to all of you for attending. Mm-hmm. To you, Brendan, every time we are together, I learn something new. There's so much value created. I appreciate you so much. And I'm like, you have to come and speak to the group, because these challenges are really business changing. So in the last couple of months, I have really worked, I call it work, 1 week a month. I really mean that, 1 week a month. Other than that, I'm really not doing anything, including marketing. I'm not doing anything, and just providing value, helping people. And what happens from that is more and more people find out about my products, my programs, my services, and I get to transform more lives. So just wanted to say big, heartfelt thank you. Thank you to all of you for coming. And we'll be in the Facebook group in a bit. We'll respond to every single thing that's in there. Brendan, thank you again.
You're the best, Terry. Thank you. I appreciate you.
All right. Bye for now, everyone.